You know what they say, life ain't nothing but a box of chocolates. Well, honey, my box was full of nails and broken glass. I'm Rose Marie Henderson. I'm 80 years old now, sitting in this nursing home, looking back at 8 decades that could make the strongest person crumble. But here I am, still breathing, still fighting. They say God never gives you more than you can handle. Well, I got news for you. Sometimes he tests that theory real good. My story? Oh, Lord, where do I even begin? I guess I'll start at the beginning, back when I was just a little girl with pigtails and dreams bigger than the Texas sky. But before we get there, let me tell you something. This ain't no fairy tale. This is real life. My life. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, another sad story, well, you just wait. Because this story, it's about survival. It's about a woman who refused to stay down no matter how many times life knocked her flat on her face. So grab yourself some tissue, settle in, and let me tell you about the girl who became the woman, who became the survivor. I was 10 years old when Daddy died. 10 years, 3 months, and 16 days to be exact. You never forget a day like that. It was a Tuesday morning in June of 1955. The birds were singing outside my window like nothing was wrong, but inside our little house on Maple Street, everything was falling apart. "Rosie, baby, come here." Mama's voice was barely a whisper that morning. She was sitting at the kitchen table, still in her nightgown at noon, her hands wrapped around a cold cup of coffee. Her eyes were red and swollen like she'd been crying for days, and she had been. "Is Daddy still sleeping?" I asked, even though somewhere deep down I already knew. Mama looked at me with those hollow eyes and said, "Baby, Daddy's gone to be with the angels now." Gone. Such a simple word for something so devastating. My daddy, the man who taught me to ride a bike, who called me his little sunshine, who promised he'd walk me down the aisle someday, was just gone. Heart attack, they said. Dropped dead right there in the factory. 42 years old. The funeral was on a Friday. I remember because I had to miss my school summer picnic. I wore my Sunday best, a yellow dress Daddy had bought me for Easter. "You look beautiful, sunshine," I could almost hear him say. But he wasn't there to say it. He was in that box, and I couldn't understand why God would take him away from us. After Daddy died, Mama changed. She stopped cooking his favorite meals, stopped humming the songs he loved, stopped being Mama. The light in her eyes just went out, like someone had flipped a switch. She'd sit for hours staring at his empty chair at the dinner table, tears rolling down her cheeks without a sound. My brother Billy was 14 then, trying to be the man of the house. "Don't worry, Rosie," he'd say, ruffling my hair. "I'll take care of you and Mama." But Billy was just a kid himself, trying to carry a weight no child should have to bear. 6 months later, everything changed again. Mama met Frank. Frank Mitchell. I'll never forget that name as long as I live. Mama met him at the church social. He was a tall man with slicked back hair and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He had this way of looking at you that made your skin crawl. But Mama, she was so desperate to fill the void Daddy left behind, she couldn't see what was right in front of her face. "Rosie, Billy, this is Mr. Mitchell," Mama said one evening, her cheeks flushed like a schoolgirl. "He's been very kind to me." Nice to meet you, kids, Frank said, his voice smooth as honey, but with something sour underneath. Your mama's told me all about you. Billy shook his hand, but I hid behind Mama's skirt. Something about him made my stomach twist into knots. Call it a child's intuition, call it whatever you want. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. 3 months later, they got married. Just like that. No big ceremony. Just a quick trip to the courthouse with me and Billy as witnesses. Mama wore her Sunday dress, not even a white one, and Frank wore the same suit he'd been wearing the day they met. You'll see, baby, Mama whispered to me that day, squeezing my hand a little too tight. Everything's going to be okay now. We're going to be a family again. But we weren't a family. We were strangers living under the same roof, and the nightmare was just beginning. The first time Frank hit me, I was 11 years old. 11, still a child who believed in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'd spilled my glass of milk at dinner. Just an accident. You know how kids are. The glass tipped over, milk spreading across the table like a white river, and before I could even say I'm sorry, his hand came across my face so hard I saw stars. Smack! The sound echoed through the kitchen. My cheek burned, my ears rang, and Mama just sat there, frozen, her fork halfway to her mouth. Clean it up, Frank growled, his face red with rage over a stupid glass of milk. Clumsy little brat. Frank, she's just a child, Mama started, but one look from him shut her right up. I cleaned up that milk with tears streaming down my face, my hand shaking so bad I could barely hold the towel. Billy stood in the doorway, his fists clenched, his jaw tight, but he was just a kid too. What could he do? That was the first time. But it wasn't the last. Oh, no, honey, it was just the beginning. Frank drank. Not every day at first, but enough. Enough that I learned to recognize the signs. The way his eyes would get glassy. The way his words would slur just a bit. The way his temper would go from 0 to explosion in a heartbeat. Get me another beer, girl. He'd shout from his chair, that ratty old recliner that smelled like cigarettes and sweat. Yes, sir, I'd whisper, scurrying to the kitchen, praying I wouldn't trip, wouldn't drop it, wouldn't give him any reason to wham! I said cold. This ain't cold enough. I'm sorry, I'll get another. Too late now. And his belt would come off, that thick leather belt with the brass buckle, and I'd run. Lord, how I'd run. But there was nowhere to hide in that small house, nowhere safe. The closet became my sanctuary. I'd curl up behind Mama's old coats, making myself as small as possible, holding my breath, praying he wouldn't find me. Sometimes he did. Sometimes he didn't. Those were the lucky nights. Mama, please, I begged her one night after Frank had passed out drunk on the couch. Please, make him stop, please. I'll never forget the look on her face. It wasn't love. It wasn't protection. It was emptiness, like she'd already given up on everything, including me. Rose, you need to try harder not to make him angry, she said, not even looking at me. He's doing his best to provide for us. We should be grateful. Grateful for being beaten, for living in fear, for walking on eggshells every single day of my life. That's when I realized I'd lost my mama the same day I lost my daddy. She was right there in front of me, but she was gone, replaced by this hollow shell of a woman who chose a monster over her own children. Billy tried to protect me when he could. He'd step in front of me, take the hits meant for me. Leave her alone, he'd shout, and then Frank would turn on him instead. You think you're tough, boy? Frank would sneer, rolling up his sleeves. Let me show you what tough really is. And he did, over and over again, until Billy's face was covered in bruises and his spirit was covered in scars. The worst part? School. I had to go to school and pretend everything was fine. "Why are you so clumsy, Rose?" my teacher, Mrs. Peterson, would ask, seeing the bruises on my arms. "You need to be more careful." "Yes, ma'am," I'd whisper, pulling my sleeves down further. "I'll try." Because what else could I say? My stepfather beats me and my mother doesn't care? In 1956, they'd have said I was lying, that I was ungrateful, that I needed to respect my elders. So I stayed quiet. We all did. The years crawled by like wounded animals. 12, 13, 14, each year harder than the last. Frank got meaner, Mama got more distant, and Billy got angrier. I could see it building in him like a storm about to break. "I'm going to kill him one day," Billy whispered to me one night when we were both hiding in my room after Frank had gone on another rampage. "I swear to God, Rosie, I'm going to kill him." "Don't say that, Billy," I whispered back, clutching his hand. "Please don't say that. We just have to survive, just survive until we're old enough to leave." Survive. That became my mantra, my prayer, my only hope. Just survive another day, another week, another year. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'd be free. But freedom, that was still a long, long way away. I turned 18 in 1963, the year Kennedy was shot, the year everything seemed to be changing in America. Freedom marches, civil rights, a new generation rising up and demanding better. But in our house on Maple Street, nothing changed. Frank was still a monster. Mama was still a ghost. And I was still trapped. "You need to get a job, girl," Frank announced one morning at breakfast. "You're 18 now. Time to start earning your keep." I thought I might go to college," I said quietly, my hands trembling as I pushed scrambled eggs around my plate. "Mrs. Peterson said I could get a scholarship." His laugh cut me off. Cold, cruel. "College? You? That's rich. No, you're going to work at the diner downtown. I already talked to Joe. You start Monday." And just like that, my dreams died. No college, no escape. Just the Paradise Diner, serving coffee and burgers to truckers and locals from 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, then coming home to this. But you know what? That job saved me, because that's where I met Tom. Tom Henderson was a mechanic at the garage next door. Tall, handsome, with dark hair and kind eyes. Real kind, not fake like Frank's smile. He'd come in every morning at 7 sharp for coffee and toast. "Morning, Rose," he'd say with a smile that made my heart skip. "How are you today?" "Fine, thank you," I'd whisper, pouring his coffee, avoiding his eyes because I didn't know how to talk to a man who didn't make me afraid. For months, that's all it was. Small talk, smiles, nothing more. Until one day, he asked, "Rose, would you like to go to the movies with me this Saturday?" My heart stopped. A date, a real date. I'd like that very much. That Saturday, we saw The Sound of Music. I cried during the whole thing. Not because of the movie, but because for 2 hours, I felt normal. I felt like a regular girl on a regular date with a regular boy. No fear, no pain, just happiness. Tom was a gentleman. He held the door open for me, bought me popcorn, held my hand during the scary parts. When he walked me home, he kissed me on the cheek and said, "I'd really like to see you again, Rose, if you'll have me." "I'd like that too," I whispered, touching my cheek where his lips had been, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. We dated for 6 months. 6 beautiful, perfect months where I actually believed life could be different. Tom talked about the future, about buying a house, about getting married, about having kids. "I want to give you everything, Rose," he'd say, holding my hands in his. "Everything you deserve, everything you've never had." And I believed him. God help me. I believed him. We got married on June 15th, 1964. A small ceremony at the courthouse, just like Mama and Frank, though I tried not to think about that. Billy was my witness. Tom's sister was his. Mama didn't come. "I'm not feeling well," she said, but I knew. Frank didn't approve, so she stayed home. "It's okay," I'd told myself, standing in my simple white dress, the first new dress I'd ever owned. "I don't need her. I have Tom now. Everything's going to be different." And for a while, it was. Tom got us a small apartment above the hardware store. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Clean, safe, a place where I could breathe without fear. "This is your home now, Rose," Tom said, carrying me over the threshold like in the movies. "Our home. No one's ever going to hurt you again. I promise." Promises are easy to make. Keeping them, that's the hard part. The first year of marriage was good. Tom worked at the garage. I worked at the diner. We saved money, talked about buying a house, about starting a family. Everything I'd ever dreamed about was finally coming true. Then I got pregnant. Tom, honey, I have news!" I ran to him that evening, waving the doctor's note like a flag. "We're going to have a baby! Can you believe it?" His face lit up like Christmas morning. He picked me up and spun me around laughing. "A baby! Rose, we're going to have a baby!" Our son, Tommy Jr., was born on March 3rd, 1966. 7 pounds, 6 ounces of pure perfection. Dark hair like his daddy, eyes like mine. The moment they put him in my arms, I knew I would do anything to protect this child. He would never know the life I'd known, never feel the pain I'd felt, never be afraid in his own home. I promise you, baby boy, I promise you'll always be safe, always be loved, always. But promises, as I was about to learn, are fragile things, easy to break, easy to forget. When Tommy was 6 months old, things started to change. Tom started coming home late, really late, smelling like perfume that wasn't mine, with lipstick on his collar that wasn't my shade. "Where were you?" I'd asked, bouncing the crying Tommy on my hip at midnight. "Working late," he'd say, not meeting my eyes. "Car needed finishing." "The garage closes at 6, Tom. Mind your business, Rose." His voice was cold, different, like he was becoming someone else right before my eyes. Then one night, he didn't come home at all. I paced the floors all night, Tommy crying in my arms, my mind racing with horrible possibilities. Car accident, hospital, death, until I heard his key in the lock at 5 in the morning. "Where have you been?" I demanded, tears streaming down my face. "I thought you were dead. I thought—"
"I was with a friend," he said simply, walking past me like I wasn't even there. "A friend? What friend? Tom, answer me." He turned then, and I saw something in his eyes that made my blood run cold. Something familiar. Something I'd seen before in Frank's eyes. "You don't own me, Rose," he said quietly, dangerously. "I'm a man. I have needs you're not meeting." "What are you talking about? I'm your wife. I just had your baby 6 months ago." "Exactly. You're too busy being a mother to be a wife." And that's when I understood. My husband, The man who'd promised to protect me, to love me, to give me everything I deserved, was just like every other man who'd ever hurt me. The other women started coming more frequently. Sometimes he'd tell me, sometimes I'd just know. The lipstick, the perfume, the late nights, the lies. But the worst night? Oh God, the worst night came when Tommy was 2 years old. I was in the kitchen washing dishes after dinner when I heard the front door open, 2 sets of footsteps, laughing, a woman's high-pitched giggle. "Tom?" I called out, drying my hands on a towel, my heart already sinking. He walked into the kitchen with his arm around a blonde woman in a tight red dress, a woman I'd never seen before, a woman who had no business being in my home. "Rose, this is Candy," Tom said casually, like he was introducing a friend from work. "She's going to be staying the night." The world stopped spinning. "What?" "You heard me. Go sleep in Tommy's room tonight." "Tom, this is our home. Our son is sleeping upstairs. You can't bring another woman into our—" Smack! The same sound. The same burning in my cheek. The same stars dancing in my vision. Just like Frank. Exactly like Frank. "You don't ever question me in front of company," Tom hissed, his face inches from mine. "You understand?" I understood. I understood perfectly. I'd escaped one prison only to walk straight into another. The blonde woman, Candy, looked uncomfortable for about 2 seconds before Tom pulled her toward the bedroom. Our bedroom. The bedroom where we'd conceived our son, where I dreamed of growing old together. I slept on the floor of Tommy's room that night, my arms wrapped around my baby boy, listening to sounds no wife should ever have to hear coming from her own bedroom, crying silent tears into my son's soft hair. "I'm sorry," I whispered to him. "I'm so sorry, baby. Mama's gonna figure this out. Somehow. I promise." More promises, more lies, because the truth was, I had no idea how to figure anything out. I was trapped. Again. The years that followed were a blur of pain, humiliation, and survival. Tom brought women home regularly. Sometimes they'd stay the night, sometimes just an hour or 2. He didn't even try to hide it anymore. "Where's Daddy going?" little Tommy would ask, watching his father leave with another woman. "Daddy has work to do," I'd say, my heart breaking a little more each time I had to lie to my child. But the women were almost easier to handle than the money. Every month, I'd get my paycheck from the diner. Every month, without fail, Tom would be waiting. "Hand it over," he'd say, holding out his hand like it was his God-given right. "Tom, we need groceries. Tommy needs new shoes. The rent." I said, "Hand it over." His voice would drop to that dangerous level, that level that meant if I didn't comply, I'd regret it. So I'd hand it over, my entire paycheck. Money I'd earned on my feet for 8 hours a day serving ungrateful customers and dodging groping hands. Gone. Just like that. "What do you do with it?" I asked once. Only once. The backhand came fast. "What I do with my money is my business. You want a roof over your head? Food on the table? Then shut your mouth and be grateful." Grateful. That word again. The word that had haunted me since childhood. Be grateful for the abuse. Be grateful for the scraps. Be grateful you're not dead. I started hiding money. Small amounts. $1 here, $2 there.
tucked away in a coffee can hidden in the back of the closet. My escape fund. My hope fund. My someday we'll get out of here fund. It took me 3 years to save $200. 3 years of hiding. 3 years of fear every time Tom got near that closet. 3 years of planning. Tommy, we're going to go on a trip, I told my son one night, tucking him into bed. He was 5 years old now, old enough to understand some things, old enough to see too much. Where, Mama? Somewhere safe, somewhere Daddy can't find us. Would you like that? His little face lit up. Can we go to Grandma's? My heart broke. Mama who'd chosen Frank over me. Mama who'd never once stood up for her own children. Mama who was still living in that house of horrors with that monster. Maybe not Grandma's baby, but somewhere good, I promise. That promise lasted exactly 4 days. Tom found the coffee can. I don't know how. Maybe he was looking for something else. Maybe he'd known all along and was just waiting to catch me. Either way, he found it. Rose! His roar shook the walls. Get in here! I knew. Before I even walked into the bedroom, I knew. And I knew what was coming. He had the coffee can in one hand, my carefully saved bills crumpled in the other. His face was purple with rage, veins bulging in his neck, eyes wild. What is this? Each word punctuated with a step toward me. Tom, I can explain. You're stealing from me, from your own husband. It's my money. I earned it. Nothing in this house is yours. He threw the bills in my face. Nothing. You are mine. This money is mine. Everything is mine. Then came the beating. The worst one yet. Fists, kicks, the belt. Over and over until I couldn't tell which pain was new and which was old. Until everything was just pain. Tommy stood in the doorway crying, Daddy, stop! Stop hurting Mama! Get back to your room, Tom roared, and my baby ran, sobbing. When Tom finally tired himself out, I was on the floor, curled into a ball, tasting blood, struggling to breathe. You ever try to leave me? Tom said, standing over me, breathing hard. I'll kill you. You understand me? I'll kill you and take Tommy where you'll never find him. You're nothing without me. Nothing. Then he took my hard-earned $200 and went out, probably to spend it on another woman. I lay there, on the bedroom floor for hours, maybe longer, every part of my body screaming. Every hope I'd had, shattered like glass on concrete. This is it, I thought. This is my life. This is all it will ever be. There's no escape, no hope, no future. Just survive another day, another week, another year. I survived for 23 more years. 23 years of abuse, of other women, of stolen paychecks, of lies, of broken promises, of fear, of pain. Tommy grew up in that house, watched his father abuse his mother, learned that this was normal, that this was what marriage looked like, what love looked like. Mama, why don't you leave? He asked me once when he was 16, old enough to understand, old enough to be angry. Where would I go, baby? I asked, too tired to lie anymore. I have no money, no education, no family who cares. This is all there is. Then I'll get a job, I'll save money, and when I'm 18, I'll take you away from here. Oh, the promises children make.
Beautiful, heartbreaking, impossible promises. Tommy turned 18 and moved out 2 months later. Didn't take me with him. Didn't look back. I don't blame him. He needed to survive too. Needed to escape the only way he knew how. I love you, Mama, he said the day he left, but I can't stay here anymore. I know, baby. I know. You go live your life. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. He left, and I stayed.
I was 63 years old when my brain gave out. 63 years of surviving, of enduring, of taking blow after blow after blow, and my body finally said, enough. It happened on a Tuesday morning, same day of the week Daddy died all those years ago. Funny how life circles back like that. I was making breakfast, Tom's eggs, just the way he liked them, over easy with crispy edges, when the world started to spin. The kitchen tilted sideways, the floor rushed up to meet me. Tom! I tried to call out, but my words came out slurred, wrong. Tom! Help! He found me on the kitchen floor, the frying pan still smoking on the stove, eggs burning black. Jesus Christ, Rose, what the hell? Then he saw my face, half of it drooping, my mouth twisted, my arm not working right. Oh, shit! Brain hemorrhage, the doctor said at the hospital. Massive. Lucky to be alive. Would need months of rehabilitation. Might never walk again. Might never talk right again. Might never be me again. Tom visited once in 3 months of hospitalization, stood in the doorway of my room like he couldn't stand to come closer. The doctor says you'll need round-the-clock care, he said, not looking at me, not meeting my eyes. I can't do that. I have to work. So. Such a small word for such a huge betrayal. Tommy's agreed to put you in a care facility. He continued, talking about me like I wasn't even there, like I couldn't hear him, even though only half my body wasn't working, my ears were fine. Tommy and I can't. We have the kids and our jobs, and you need more help than we can give you. This place is nice. They'll take good care of you. Nice. Green Meadows was anything but nice. It was a warehouse for forgotten people. Old folks parked in wheelchairs in front of TVs playing game shows nobody watched. The smell of disinfectant trying to cover the smell of urine and despair. Nurses who moved us around like we were sacks of potatoes, not human beings. Please, I tried to say with my twisted mouth, my words coming out wrong, but my meaning clear in my eyes. Please don't leave me here. But he did. They all did. Tom never came back, not once. Tommy visited twice in the first month, then never again. I was alone, truly alone for the first time in my life. At first, I wanted to die, prayed for it every night, prayed that I wouldn't wake up to face another day in this place. What was the point? 80 years of suffering just to end up here, forgotten, abandoned, unable to even feed myself? Then came Sarah.
Sarah Johnson was a nurse's aide, 26 years old with kind brown eyes and gentle hands. The first person in maybe forever who treated me like a human being. "Good morning, Miss Rose," she'd say every morning, her voice warm like sunshine. "How are we feeling today?" At first, I didn't respond. What was the point? But Sarah was persistent. "I know you can hear me.
she'd say, carefully brushing my hair. And I know you understand, so I'm going to talk to you like the intelligent woman you are, not like you're invisible. She told me about her life, her dreams of going to nursing school, her little boy at home, her struggles as a single mom, her faith that kept her going. You know what I think, Miss Rose? She said one day, helping me with my physical therapy exercises. I think you're stronger than you know. I think you survived things that would break most people. And I think you're not done yet. Not done yet. The words echoed in my head. She started bringing me a journal. Here, she said, putting a pen in my good hand. Write, even if it's messy, even if it's just a few words. Tell your story. And I did. Slowly, painfully, my handwriting like a child's, I started writing about Daddy, about Frank, about Tom, about Tommy, about every moment of pain and every moment of survival. That's it, she would encourage me. Get it out. Your story matters, Miss Rose. Your life matters. For the first time in 80 years, someone was telling me I mattered. I'm still here, still writing, still surviving. Tom died last year, heart attack, just like my daddy. I didn't go to the funeral, didn't cry, didn't feel much of anything except maybe relief. Tommy came to see me last week. First time in 7 years. Hi, Mom, he said awkwardly, standing in the doorway just like his father used to. Hi, baby, I said, my words clearer now after months of therapy. Come sit. We talked, really talked, for the first time maybe ever. About his childhood, about his father, about me. I'm sorry, he said finally, tears in his eyes. I'm sorry I left you. I'm sorry I put you here. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. You survived, I told him, taking his hand with my good one. That's all any of us can do, just survive. But you know what? I'm done just surviving. These last years with Sarah helping me, encouraging me, believing in me, they've shown me something. I'm not just a survivor, I'm a fighter. I'm a woman who endured 80 years of hell and came out the other side still breathing, still here, still me. My story isn't pretty. It isn't neat. It doesn't have a fairy tale ending, but it's mine, and it matters. If you're listening to this, if you're in a situation like I was, remember this. You are stronger than you know. Your story matters. Your life matters. And it's never too late to reclaim your voice. I'm Rosemarie Henderson. I'm 80 years old, and I'm still here. Still fighting. Still unbreakable.